Live from the Pathway Studios in Johnston proper, you are Live from the Path.
I am a working man, I get things done. Work for the Holy Ghost, work for the Son.
And you're listening to Live from the Path.
Working man.
We're coming to you from
Oh,
the beautiful Pathway Studios here in Johnston proper. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. My name is Ben Foust. I'm glad to be with you.
Rick Lee was talking during the opening.
What's that?
He was talking during the opening, making comments.
They didn't hear me.
No, he said things.
It's
Ben.
best that they know we run an unprofessional get-up from the start.
No doubt.
So here's the deal. My name is Ben Foust. I'm the host of Live from the Path. With me, as always, is Mike Foust and Dan Hudson. They're in studio. And special guests tonight, Rick Lee and Nadine Lee are hanging out with us in the Pathway Studios. And always, I mean like the last 3 weeks, Jacob Carson's hanging out producing the show.
He's doing great.
He is doing great. We should give him a raise.
Yeah, I'll double it. Yeah, well, triple it. So here's the deal. For those of you that are listening on KTIA, I want to say welcome and thanks for joining us on Live from the Path. It's good to talk to you. I feel like I'm at home with you. You make me feel comfortable.
Yeah, no doubt.
And so we look forward to trying to entertain you, try to provide some enlightening conversation. If you're not familiar with the show, here's the deal. We are just some guys that are trying to follow Christ. And our Life from the Path just represents conversation from guys trying to stay on that path. Sometimes it's about family, relationships, stuff that we read in the Bible, situations that we're running into. And the overall tagline of the show is going to be honest faith, fierce grace, and donkeys. And just for a heads up, that donkey thing is because sometimes we get off on a tangent.
A little bit.
Because guys following Christ sometimes talk about cereal and tacos and stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's what's going to happen. Just for a heads up. I hope you guys have a good time listening to the program. We have a great time putting it on. Here's what we got going on tonight. We're on week 23 or proof 23 from the guy that runs GodIsImaginary.com. His title this week is Listen to the Doxology. The point here is this guy's written 50 proofs. He obviously believes that God is imaginary. And although we get to have a little bit of fun kind of walking through his reasoning, there are people that this is a legitimate barrier to having a closer relationship with God or having a relationship at all. And we should be able to answer to it.
Yeah, and actually there's sometimes questions that you'd like to ask, but you don't want to ask in front of all your church buddies because you don't want to feel like a doofus.
And it's a little embarrassing sometimes.
Yeah. And so we walk through one by one and talk about where Jesus is in the mix and maybe where the world's got it tanking the wrong way. And so we're going to go through this one tonight. What was the title of this one tonight?
It's called Listen to the Doxology.
And I was shaky on what doxology was. That was the honest faith part. I'm not really sure what that means. Dan, do you have any idea what we come out with that was?
I don't believe I'll sing the song again like I did before.
I had Jacob sing it to me on the way here. It was pretty.
It was?
Okay, Jacob knows it. Okay,
Okay,
that's solid.
so that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk through that one and see if we can come to consensus whether God is imaginary or not on this particular proof.
Now, hold on. Just for a quick rundown now, if you've missed the last 22 weeks, what's the score now?
God 22, imaginary 0.
Right. Well, we'll see how 23 goes. I feel like he's got a good shot tonight.
He's got a lot of opportunity to catch up.
Yeah.
Okay. So also introducing, I like to call it a live action quiz because it gives a little bit of
I like to get excited about it because Ben's excited about it.
It gives a little whiz bang when you say live action. So the question is, if you were Paul, you would. All right. So I'm going to give you a current day scenario or what could be considered a current day scenario. And you're going to tell me if you were Paul, what would you do? And the idea is that you need to try to see the scenario I give you as similar to something that is otherwise described, and I'm going to limit it to the book of Acts. Okay? And then you're going to have to try to guess and say, okay, based upon what Paul did in that scenario, here's what he would do in this one.
So you were not talking Peter, Paul, and Mary, which is totally where I was.
No.
It's a different Paul.
Yes, what would the guy from Peter, Paul, and Mary do?
You know, sometimes, Dan, I think that we should have held auditions for people to be on this show. You know what I'm saying? I feel like just the, hey, you're a friend of mine policy was a mistake.
Glad you did not. Thank you.
So anyway, that should be a fun quiz, and the goal here is if you can pick it out, you need to tell me why you think Paul would have done a certain thing.
Is any of this from Acts 7?
I'm not willing to say.
Fair enough.
You're going to cheat.
I love Acts 7.
Using the Lord's word is cheating. So we're going to go through that, and also we're going to try to hit some advice. Here's the thing, Mike. People need help. Times are. I don't care what you hear on the TV. Times are still rough. People need advice. They're going through rough times, and here at Live from the Path, we're here to help that out.
Here's what I'm going to tell you. When I was 6 years old, my grandpa looked me in the eye and he said, "Mike," and then he went, cleared his throat because he's an older gentleman, and then he said, "The TV is going to lie to you." And I thought he was lying to me because I love television. But I tell you nowadays, Ben, the only place you can really go for solid advice is Jesus #1 and Dear Life from the Path #2, and we can help you with both.
It's the way of the world.
Yeah,
Definitely.
We only have authority over the #2 one. Jesus kind of does what he wants, and we just try to portray it accurately.
Yeah.
But the Dear Life from the Path, we can certainly go through it.
And also, final thing, if we can hit this, Mike has what he considers pseudo Pope style advice.
Yeah,
Pseudo.
yeah. If so, I mean, just pay attention to this thing now. Ben set up this deal where you have to, if there was 10,000 people standing in front of you and they said, "I'm not gonna move until I get a bit of wisdom from you," you know. And of course, this comes from Ben's head because he had one, of course, and then decided this premise was rock star.
It was
He
a
figured
gleam
we
of,
should have them as well.
Yeah, and then he comes in every week and demands that you've got one. You know, like you practice talking in front of 10K every day. And so I have one. I my first one I think went well, and I'm ready for round 2.
you pompous windbag.
People were really changed by it.
I
Especially
deserve
me.
to give out Pope style advice.
I
My name is
downloaded
Mike
the
Foost.
podcast 3 times to make sure it went well.
All right. So here's what I tell you what. Let's do that. You want to do the quiz first?
The live action quiz.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
Let's do the live action quiz. So here's the other thing that I neglected to do, and I regret it, is that I don't have a sweet opening for this quiz. So the question is, quiz: if you were Paul, you would. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do for the opening. I'm gonna say, if you were Paul, you would, and you're gonna go, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? And I'm gonna say
Okay,
it
I'm
again.
down.
Okay, and that's gonna
Hold
be
on,
the opening for the quiz.
Rick
Are
Lee,
you ready?
do it
I'm
on your
ready.
own to make sure that it's gonna go well. What you gonna do?
What you gonna do?
Okay,
Okay,
ready?
Rick Lee's got it. Okay, I'm ready.
The whole refrain goes twice, great?
Okay.
We're all doing that?
Yeah, everybody's good.
Oh,
You're the
okay,
what you
okay.
gonna do part. Okay, this is the
I got
introduction
my eye on you, Hudson.
to the grand
I'm ready.
to the grand prize game. If you were Paul, you would. Ready? If you were Paul, you would.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do?
If you were Paul, you would.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do?
Okay, there we go.
Okay, that's all.
Great. You've been introduced
I
to
feel
the.
that was a success.
I would say so too. All right, let's look at the first. Let's look at the first question on the "If you were Paul, you would." Question number 1, or scenario number 1. Here we go. You are attending a very large family reunion at your grandmother's house. Suddenly, your Uncle Stu sees a fire that is engulfing the entire neighborhood and now heading straight for Grandma's house. The consensus of the family is to leave right away. If you were Paul, you would A, agree with the family and bail, B, let everyone else go but stay there yourself, C, insist that everyone stay, or D, remove Grandma's flammable wig collection from the house and call it good. If you were Paul, which one would you do and why? Mike Foost.
Oh, you better ask Dan.
Okay, Dan Hudson, you're up first. Mike's bailed on the first one.
So see, I see him doing something completely different than all of those. So I'm really struggling here. Let's see. I would say the Apostle Paul. He'd had everybody else let them go, but he'd stay there himself. Letter B.
Okay, but why do you think that? Like, what action have you seen him take in the past that makes you think that?
None.
Okay, so an uneducated guess.
I just had that.
Like a man
Paul's
roaming
kind of a
from-
bold guy. He's
Hey,
the guy who.
I didn't know Dan was gonna do uneducated because I have one of those.
Okay, go
Wait,
ahead.
wait, wait. C. It's got to be C.
Your C insists that everyone stay.
Everyone's got to stay.
Okay, why do you think that?
Well, because he was big on the unity. He loved unity. He thought that was the most important thing that we represented. They would all have to stay and die together
Okay,
as martyrs.
Mike, what are your thoughts?
We're all gonna die.
I'm sticking with my uneducated guess of A.
Agree
with
with-
the family and bail.
Everyone's split. Okay, so premise was you're at a very large family reunion at your grandma's house. Uncle Stu sees a fire that's engulfing the neighborhood and heading straight for Grandma's house. The family says, we got to split. If you were Paul, you would. And the correct answer is C, insists that everyone stay. Based upon Paul is traveling on a ship. There is going to be obviously there's a giant storm. The ship is going to wreck. Everyone says, we got to bail out of here. There's pending danger. And Paul says, no, everybody's going to stay. That was the answer. Paul insists that everyone stay. All right, you get the premise?
However, what about my answer? Wasn't your genius answer?
No. It had to be based upon action Paul had taken.
Actions.
Okay. All
How
right, here we
about
go.
running into Areopagus? I can't even say the word, and but everybody's wanting him dead, saying, "Come on, let me tell you about Jesus." You guys all leave. I'm going in. See, that's what I was going at.
That was only a one-man guy. That doesn't represent Grandma's entire family. Dan.
Okay, moving on. Here we go.
All right. Okay.
Next item. You are the lead speaker at a business conference. Your presentation is so long that a man listening in the balcony falls asleep and careens overboard onto the floor below. He is dead. If you were Paul, you would A, sell your land and offer the proceeds to the man's widow, but really keep some of it for yourself while telling the widow it was everything. B, bring the man back to life and then go get something to eat. C, bring the man back to life and apologize for your long speech. Or D, carry on with your speech and deal with it later. Mike, you're back up as number 1. You're the lead speaker at a business conference. You tell a long presentation. Guy gets bored, falls asleep, dies. If you're Paul, what do you do?
D, carry on with your speech and deal with it later.
Carry on with the speech and deal with it later. Rick Lee.
Bring the man back to life. Then get it going. Go get something to eat.
And then get something to eat.
That's right.
Okay. He's in with B. Dan Hudson.
I'm in with B as well.
Bring the man back to life and then go get something to eat. And the correct answer is B. Bring the man back to life and then go get something to eat.
I thought he kept talking. I've read it.
Nope. The man.
He's got to get some food so we can talk some more.
Now, so the way the story goes in Acts, the guy falls out the third story window and dies. Paul goes, says, "Don't worry, the man's alive." And then then in the scripture, he goes and gets something to eat. After he eats, fellowships, he goes back, keeps talking. So there you go. Bring the man back to
That's
life.
0 for 2 for me. If anyone else is keeping score.
Here we go. Question number 3. A newly hired manager of a local grocery store chain has accused you of being a notorious muskmelon thief because the previous manager left a picture of you in the break room with the words muskmelon thief underneath it. While pleading your case, a friend of the manager comes by and wishes to hear your story. You make a case that has convinced the friend that you are not a thief and should probably be set free. If you were Paul, you would A, wait patiently to see whether the manager's friend can convince the manager of your innocence. B, offer the 2 friends a slice of the best muskmelon to ever be musked if they look the other way. C, flee naked like a John Mark at a garden party. D, before hearing the manager's decision, demand to speak to the CEO of the grocery store. Rick Lee.
D.
Before hearing the manager's decision, demand to speak to the CEO of the grocery store.
D.
Okay, Dan Hudson.
D.
Dan Hudson also in for D. Mike Foost.
I got to go with D on this one, Ben.
Okay. Does anybody want to provide justification?
Yeah. Was this akin to Paul being before parts of the Roman government, and he appealed to Caesar before the decision was made?
It is Paul speaking to Agrippa. The answer is D. Before hearing the manager's decision, demand to speak to the CEO of the grocery store.
I love Paul. That's a genius move. I'm not done here.
I'm going to the top.
Okay, here we go. Last question. If you were Paul, what would you do? You are with your friends on a bus, and a feather mysteriously lands on your head. A strange man sitting next to you says that in a few months you will go to Chicago and buy a silly hat that looks just like the feather that landed on you. The feather is awful looking, and buying a hat like that would bring you public ridicule and physical mistreatment. If you were Paul, you would A, eat the feather and act like the whole thing never happened. B, prepare a trip to go buy the hat directly and tell your friends to stop whining about it. C, tickle the strange man with the feather until he wets himself and then say, "Mama don't need no bedwetter." Or D, refer to the strange man as Apollos and refuse to follow him. Dan Hudson, you're up first.
That would be a B.
B, prepare a trip to go buy the hat directly and tell your friends to stop whining about it.
Yeah.
Okay, Rick Lee?
A.
A, eat the feather and act like the whole thing never happened.
Gotta do A.
Mike Foost.
I've never turned down a good bedwetter remark, Ben. I'm going with C.
Mike is tickle the strange man with the feather until he wets himself, then say, "Mama don't need no bedwetter." Mike, what Paul action are you tying that to?
Paul doesn't like bedwetters, Ben. It was in the second acts.
Okay,
Holy Spirit lost it for us. I'm sure it's out there.
All right, here we go. So a quick recap. You're on a bus with your friends. Feather falls on your head. Strange man next to you says you're going to go to Chicago and buy a silly hat. The feather is awful and it's going to bring you ridicule. Paul would, based upon previous experience with Paul, B, prepare a trip to go buy the hat directly and tell your friends to stop whining about it. This is akin to Paul. Paul is hanging out and the guy shows up and takes his belt and like shows himself with the belt tied and said, "This will happen to you if you go to Jerusalem." And Paul heads to Jerusalem directly and goes, "Why do you keep whining at me? You want to make this more difficult. I'm going to do what the Holy Spirit wants me to do. God's will be done." All right. So either you logged on intentionally at livefromthepath.org or you just happened upon it on KTA. But either way, you are a willing participant and victim to the greatest live action game to be introduced on the program. If you were Paul, you would.
I actually love that game. Here's the thing that I love about Paul. I was listening to a guy talk about him a couple weeks back, and he goes, "I would give everything I have to be Paul. Because here's the deal. They say, look, we're going to arrest you. He says, go ahead, I'll convert your guards. He says, we're going to kill you. He goes, to die is gain. He says, you're going to live. Well, good, I got a lot of missionary work to do. He says, well, we're going to tie you to this and we're going to do this to you. He's like, that's great. That's just more people for me to talk to. Like, you can't bring the man down.
Exactly.
He's a one-man positive factory. He walks around like, no matter what hey, we're going to tie you to 2 guards. Good, I'll convert him too. Wait, I'll get his family. Go ahead, leave me here longer. It just gives me more time to reach more people.
That's why I thought he'd eat the feather.
See, you went the wrong way. Ben's more of a metaphorical story, metaphorical story. Yours more of a psychological analysis of Paul, which you just misapplied. That's all.
That's going to be embarrassing, though. You're going to get to you're going to get to the land of glory, and Paul's going to be like, "Really? You thought I would eat that feather? For heaven's sakes, man!" All right. Well, there you go. Enjoy that game. Hey, if you're interested, if you like those types of games, you can check out more clips of games we've had at livefromthepath.org. You can play one of the recent games that we had out there was things heard on Christian radio to raise money. Those are classic.
No, there's a bit in there about becoming an apostle if you donate X amount of money. It's funny and not funny at the same time because it was
kind of want to cry and it's like, ooh. Yeah.
It's legitimate radio. We took it legitimate. We didn't make any of them up. It's exactly as presented. So go check that out on the website. It's pretty good.
Yep. Okay. So let's move on to the proof. We're talking about the guy from GodIsImaginary.com. This guy believes God is imaginary, and he's provided 50 proofs to show that. And his proof number 23 is called "Listen to the Doxology." And here's his defense. The doxology is a song sung in millions of Christian churches around the world every Sunday. It opens with this sentence: "Praise God from whom all blessings flow." With that one sentence, we can prove that God is imaginary, just like Santa Claus. We can prove that Santa is imaginary in a variety of ways. All right, we're going to skip his defense of Santa. Let us suppose that God is real and that all blessings actually do flow from him. If that is the case, then the utter unfairness with which he dispenses his blessings is proof positive that God is ridiculous. If all blessings flow from God, then the fact that Bill Gates is worth $70 billion, while 10 million children will starve to death this year, is specifically God's fault. This is ridiculous. Here's a typical church. He loves this church in Raleigh, North Carolina. He's picked on a couple times.
He's against them.
He's upset because they have 33 acres of tennis court, soccer fields, indoor basketball courts, dozens of meeting rooms and classrooms, several buses, a library, a huge sanctuary, and here's his classic one, and ample free parking. One obvious question to ask after reading the church's statement is this: if all blessings flow from God, then why are his blessings so amazingly unbalanced? Why are tens of thousands of children dying of starvation every day on this planet, while Colonial Baptist Church is blessed with such wealth? Why wouldn't God spread his blessings evenly among all his children? Answer: because God is imaginary. What are your thoughts, Dan Hudson?
Man, on so many different levels, this is kind of crazy. First of all, once again, he refuses to answer his own, thing. He's trying to prove that God is imaginary, and his whole argument does not prove that God is imaginary. So right off the bat, he's just a little wacky. Just because he doesn't like the first phrase in a song doesn't mean God is imaginary. It just means he doesn't like the first phrase of the song.
Right.
And so that's there. And then he gets into, let's pretend that he's right there and that God, is unfair in how he disperses things. Well, that kind of goes back to the whole parable of the talents. First thing I thought of it, Jesus talking about the talents. Some people are just more gifted in how they use resources than other people, and some people take something and multiply it. Some people take the same thing and reduce it because they can't manage it, and that's kind of what it boils down to. Some Bill Gates could take a small nothing and make a huge fortune out of it. I can't. At least I haven't yet. He's better gifted than I am. So there's still God's blessed me quite well though. So I don't have any complaints. Anyway, that does not in any way disprove God. So once again, I would say his proof is pretty silly.
Yeah, he may have stated that he thinks God is ridiculous.
Yeah,
and I think I can if that wants to be his opinion, then fine. But it certainly doesn't prove that God is imaginary. It just proves that he doesn't agree with God.
He doesn't like with how God handles things.
Yeah, and an interesting thing about when he talks about why doesn't he distribute money evenly is if you see the protections that God has put into place for us to try not to worship money. One of the worst things you probably could do, if the best thing is to have a solid relationship with God, right? If that's the one thing that I can attain with everything I have, the last thing I want to do is put money in the hands of someone who's going to worship that instead of God.
Well, that's no doubt. Like, here's the thing: is his proof is kind of an anti-proof if you're looking at it from the right direction. You know, like they say, look, I seems totally unfair that he has blessed Bill Gates with, X million of dollars. Well, I don't know where Bill Gates stands, but like, there's a lot of people that have a lot of money that did not get it as a blessing from Jesus. They stole it, from Jesus. Is basically how it went down. They took money by not living the way that God had set out for them, and maybe money that was going to go to somebody else. But like, there's a lot of ways to get money, and you can either receive it from the Holy Spirit because you're good with it, and He can trust you to, hand it out to His people in the way that He sees fit, or you can steal it from His hands and not give, and not put it in God's hands at all. And you can probably sure make a lot of money that way, but you can also have money as your God, and you haven't won anything. So a blessing to one guy is sometimes in God's eyes a total curse. There's a lot of reasons a lot of people don't have a lot of money. It's for exactly what Ben said. If you ain't good with it and it'll turn into your God, he won't give it to you. He's not going to bless you with it because that's not a blessing. It's more of a curse. It's separating you from Him. And so, I get his point of view because he's sitting in the chair of blessing equals financial blessing,
which is a money is God position, is not
right. And so you're basically saying the only way to show that you bless me is by giving me money, and I tell you what, if that's all that God had to offer me, I probably would not have the faith that I have in Him, right? Because that's a cheap, I can work for a guy who's generous,
Right.
I can meet a lot of people that have a lot of money that don't mean a lot to them and are willing to give it away. But like, when the metal hits the road and someone had to die for me, I didn't see anybody with money standing up,
And that's a good point because like from that perspective, Bill Gates could very well be a god. Yes, he's a very philanthropic man. He gives a lot of money away. So if that's all you're looking for is a spiritual slot machine, that's kind of a poor god to worship in general.
Praise God through all blessings flow. Doesn't it give you the thought and the connotation that the blessings keep moving, they aren't stagnant, they don't become monetary? And
there's not a pool of blessings that the one guy's just swimming in.
They just flow through every one of us in our relationships. I mean,
a blessings McDuck swimming him around, throwing him away.
Well, that'd be terrible if you had some kind of pool hog in the blessings pool. Like, come on, Scott, get out of there, will you? Seriously.
I mean, and it's not that. I like his perspective that God approves of everybody that uses money in His name. Like, that's not implicitly true either.
No.
Like, God doesn't look down and say, "Oh, I really love that basketball court you put in." Whatever, you could put a basketball court in for the glory of God.
Here's the thing: we talked about this church last time, and I was very insufficient on my answer on this thing with that tennis court here. That's too. I just think that's too much. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get what you're trying to do, give believers a place to go or whatever. Or I'll use it as outreach and invite other people who aren't Christians to play at my Jesus tennis court. Why don't you just go play on their tennis court, Jesus man? You don't have to build your own and hold yourself there. Like this, it just seems a bit far to me. Same thing with I'm sure you can rationalize out almost every purchase you make in a church type atmosphere, but like the tennis court, there's no sale. It's just
Mike's not buying.
I'm not buying it. And some people will say, look, we need a place to gather all of our activities. Well, why don't you go find a bunch of people that don't believe in Jesus and go there and do your activities next to them or talk to them or something. Like, there's no reason for you to huddle in a Jesus group and then put yourself in a fancy building and say, if we'd outreach, but we're always in the building, Like,
I really like that. I mean, one of the things I like about our church not having a church building is that we are forced to go places. Our staff meetings are in a downtown food court every.
You lose cell phone reception and internet down there. I mean, it's like a dungeon.
But people might accidentally hear a little Jesus once in a while, just because we're trying to be
boisterous and loud.
Yeah, what do you think about that Jesus thing?
What do you think about the sermon on Sunday, Ben?
We're going to talk about the sinners.
Yeah. Yes, I'll have fries with that. It'd be a real blessing through which all blessings flow.
We always have that little song, Praise God.
We sing the doxology at every meeting.
I'll be honest, I did not know what that was.
I still don't know what it is.
It's mostly traditional, smaller churches that do it. I've been in one church that used to do it. That was years ago.
Did you lead it?
When I first got there, I probably did, but I also led us out of it.
Oh. That's what a good leader does.
I also kind of said,
he gets us into trouble, then he gets us right back out.
This is pretty ridiculous. I mean, this is how this worked. They would take the offering, and this is the first time I went there. We didn't have any clue. We were just guests. And they take the offering, and everybody spontaneously stood up and started singing. And Cheryl and I looked at each other like, I guess we should stand up. So we stood up, and by the time we figured out, the song. So we knew the songs. We sung along, la, 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 la. And then they just sat down. And they were like, we were the only two standing. We're like, I guess we better, it's just one of those traditional things that church did.
Yeah.
And it was just awkward enough. I thought, someone comes for the first time, it's an awkward thing. So we stopped after a while. We stopped singing it.
You should get a sign, like the stand up, sit down, be quiet, on air broadcast type of sign.
Because you can even put it in your program. Who's going to sit there and read the bulletin? Oh wait, we're going to say. Oh wait,
Cool.
I ran into that a couple of churches that I used to go to where they did a lot of community reading. This was the worst experience for me, because you always get Johnny Read Fast, who tries to blow through the whole thing because he's good at reading. Mr. Literate wants to show everybody how great he is. And then there's like a 5 to 10 man group who are like trying to sing it in a rhythm. And then some other ladies that aren't paying no attention at all and just kind of mumbling through it. And I'm like, we're not gaining. This is not a gain. And plus, I didn't know the words, so you had to look in the bulletin. And they just assumed that everyone knew the words, and so they stopped printing it in the bulletin,
Oh, yeah.
So then I couldn't decide whether it's right for me to, like,
mumble?
Milli Vanilli, just act like I'm doing it, or do I just kind of, do I get it with the mumblers, be like, hey man.
It's like, you guys seen the Saturday Night Live skit where those two people are side by side, and they basically make up the song as they go? Like one person sings it and the other person tries to sing it at the same time. It's like that.
Yes.
The church readings are like that. Someone making up something and you're like, all blessings flow. flow.
What I always get the image of in a setting like that is, and this does date me a little bit, is Beneath the Planet of the Apes. When you're down there and these guys are like, they're like mind guys. They sit there and they were just chanting or something. It was just a kind of a freaky, kind of scary, mysterious thing, and I always thought that was awkward in a church when they're all like, everybody, and I just kind of get creeped out by it.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing like inherently wrong with it. It just it can be awkward for folks if you're not sure what it is.
Yeah.
As
an outsider, it's creepy.
Yeah.
I thought the doxology celebrated the full counsel of the God at the end of every service when I was growing up. That was said before we left the building. That had to be said.
So the doxology. You've heard this before.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I grew up with it being pounded into me.
Yeah.
I don't know that I could perform it. But
Don't leave this place, Rickster.
Shall we sing together?
We're going to do the doxology. Yeah. Does anyone ever say no? Shall we praise to Jesus? No, I don't think so. No, now's not the time.
I'm really not in the mood.
No.
I'm trying to Sabbath here.
I'm trying to Sabbath. When do we stop serving Mai Tais, I can't Sabbath here.
All right. So if we can rehash and see where this guy's at. So it doesn't prove that God does exist. It probably shows that he disagrees with God and largely misunderstands him.
Just hold on. What's the main point he's missing? Basically, he's trying to say that he feels that, like, let's say, he feels that if God does exist, he's not spreading. Is he trying to characterize it as his love or his affection equally, right, to all the people he claims that he loved? He died for everybody. Why is it that some people are living easy and other people are living real rough?
Wait. His whole premise is built upon that God owns everything, is what he's saying there. That God owns everything. Well, that's not true.
God says, cow on 1,000 hills is mine. Did I use that right?
God says he owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. He owns every hair on your head.
Yeah, so I mean,
that doesn't mean
he
gets their use of it.
Well, it belongs.
Doesn't mean God gets to use all of it. It doesn't mean he's in control of it all the time. This guy's assuming that God's controlling everything. Well, that's not true. God's not controlling Bill Gates and the blessings that he's.
Well, so we could. I mean, so what you're saying is that God has, as part of his design, has said, I'm going to leave some of this up for you to do with it.
Well, sure.
And so, and to that extent,
he's abdicated control of it. He says, "Here's, you have free will, and if I took control of everything, your free will would be gone, right?" And so he's basically says, "You have free will to do
whether
things."
He gave it permission or not, he doesn't have control of it all. I'm sure he gave it permission because he's God, but he doesn't have control of it all. And this guy's whole thing was bent on God controls every single thing. Well, that's not true. God does not control.
He doesn't micromanage it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, he could control
you guys have
but he
problems
chooses
with
not to.
That he doesn't control. He doesn't control everything. If he did.
Now, he's also basing everything off of a song that was written in the 1600s. It's not even scripture. It's just some song some dude wrote saying, "Hey, this would be a good way to remind people."
Well, he's basically saying that we're doing that. So maybe we should just give up on it.
See this song? God's not real. It's like, okay, so some dude in 1600 wrote down a tune. That doesn't prove that God's not real. Again, it just proves he doesn't like what the guy wrote.
Yeah.
Like, the Beatles write a song, and it just means whether I like it or not. Doesn't mean whether they're real or not. It just means. Well, I don't
Are you
like
saying there is no Yellow Submarine, Dan? Because I've laid down $300 in vacation fees
Yellow
to go
Submarine
check
is
this thing out.
imaginary because I don't like the song.
It's
But that doxology has lasted a long time. We're not quoting Larry Norman right now. I mean, you got to think about that. Larry Norman,
Yeah.
2 men walking up a hill.
is
One
that
disappears. One's left standing still. I wish we'd all been ready. Come on. That's from the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of it.
Is
I know what you're
that-
talking about?
I have no idea what that is.
That's a great song.
That's-
We've
that's-
all been ready. That one?
That's right.
Why are you
Life was-
bobbing your head, Dan?
It's a 60s song. You got to bob your head.
That's awesome. But it's that doxology has lasted all these years, so there's something to it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something to it.
Well, I mean, it's not really a statement as to whether it is accurate or appropriate.
Right.
I guess the whole thing is like it's a man-made saying, and it's like if you're going to prove that God is not real, attacking something that a man created, it's a straw man. It's a false thing.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you disagree with the guy, and maybe you disagree with God, but neither makes God false.
Yeah, good luck arguing with the guy,
All right. So you're listening live from the Path. We're hanging out here. We're here we're broadcasting live every Monday night from 10 to 11 p.m. on livefromthepath.org. And if you're listening along on KTIA, you're catching us at 10 o'clock on Saturdays on 99.3 KTIA. So thanks for hanging out with us so far. That was Proof 23 from the man at godisimaginary.com. Next week, we'll be looking at Proof 24. And Proof 24 is going to focus on ask why religion causes so many problems.
Ooh.
Well, see, now this is borderline something I might be able to agree with.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So we'll see how he frames it, though. Usually, even if he has what I consider to be a decent premise, it goes off a wild tangent.
Yeah.
I think it looks like he's written a novel here, so I'm going to have to try to cut it down.
I'm going to guess, having not read it, that his issue is with people who are not following Christ, not people who are, that they're being religious but not following Christ, not people who are actually following Christ.
Well, I think we can probably have a same
Just as-
workable basis
Yeah, I would
on
agree with
that
him
as
if
well.
that's the case, yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't prove God's imaginary.
Oh, I agree.
I don't like his whole premise.
Well, Dan, you believe that God is not imaginary, and he believes God is.
Well, right, but he's not
I
convincing
feel
me
like
in
you're
any way.
you're just made to butt heads. You know,
He's only convinced me he doesn't like God. That's
Yeah.
all he's convinced me of. There's
Yeah, he
not
could at
been
least
anything
admit to
go,
that and say, look, I just don't like God. I don't have
Yeah.
proof that he doesn't exist, but
He has to
I
change it,
disagree
yeah.
with him.
50
Well, God
reasons
is
I don't like
supernatural,
God.
so
I'll go with that.
If God is supernatural, there would be some sort of tendency to think that he's imaginary because he's done some supernatural things
yeah.
that are above and beyond what we could probably do.
Well,
Yeah.
so, but like if you start from the premise that if you preclude the fact that anything could be supernatural, which is where he's coming from, that automatically dismisses a supernatural God that does supernatural things. So if his basis, if you start from the fact that things that are not natural and that cannot be explained by logic cannot happen, you will never arrive at the conclusion that something supernatural or outside of logic did happen.
Right. He's under the belief that all things can be explained in a natural way. We just haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah.
Like there's a way to explain it. We just haven't evolved to that.
And so, and it's a preposterous premise because you've eliminated the one thing that you're seeking out to prove did or did not happen. But once you cut it off, you're not really having a conversation anymore. That's like saying, let's say I say I don't believe Mike has a green car, and you could go, and I start from there,
How dare you?
and you could try to prove, you could probably bring a bunch of proofs as to why you have a green car. But like, if I start thinking I'm going to start out with you don't have a green car, you're never going to get me there.
Yeah, I feel like you're being ridiculous on this thing.
That's what I'm
if
saying.
it's green, it's green, Ben.
I'm with you. All right, so anyway, you're
I wanna
listening to
start
Live
a
from the
website.
Path. So here's the deal, Mike. Times are tough. People need help.
Yeah. Okay, this one's okay. Here it is. Ready? Dear Live from the Path. The other day at my in-laws, my mother-in-law, father-in-law, Bert's in parentheses. He must be the offender. The offender's always in parentheses.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll change the name.
Bert and I were in their computer room. Bert has pictures of his family posted on his bulletin board, and we often look at them when we're in the room. One of the photos he posted recently I found kind of disturbing. It was of a young, well-endowed woman in her early 20s wearing a tube top. What disturbed me was that Bert has printed my 16-year-old daughter's name underneath and put the date 2017. When I asked him about it, he said that was what she will look like at 21. My mother-in-law said she thought it was crude, and I think it's unnerving for a grandfather to be picturing the only granddaughter in such a manner. We have a great family life, and I wouldn't want to end it over a picture, but I don't want to look at it, and I don't think this behavior that's expected from a man in his 60s. How should I broach the subject that the photo needs to come down?
Rick Lee, what are your thoughts?
Whoa.
That took a weird turn, didn't it?
Yeah, no doubt, man.
I didn't see that coming.
I did not either.
I thought it would be a random woman, and like he just happened to have a picture, not
It turned creepy.
future dating grandkid.
Yeah.
I would not keep. I would not let my daughter
No.
alone with him.
No.
I mean, it just wouldn't.
That's like
He's creeped out.
yeah.
Yeah, listen, like, I feel like God has put a filter in your head when you feel it. People like the spidey sense, you know what I'm saying? Like, when you get that little spidey sense going, like, I'm reading the letter, I'm not even there, and I'm like, that doesn't sound right, right?
That's
So,
just- yeah.
so it's time for granddaughter and wife to leave, and it's time for you and grandpa to sit down and have a chat, and you can explain why they will not be coming
Here's
over
why
anymore.
my daughter. Yeah.
Yeah, here's why we will not be visiting.
Okay. Here. Okay. I'm a little further down the road than you guys. You guys have young girls.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a girl who's 23 and one who's 15. A magical thing happens to I think a well-adjusted, normal young man who's following Jesus when his daughter hits the teenage years, and up until that time you go, hey, look at them. Okay, there's some pretty girls. But when your daughter hits that age, you get creeped out going, I can't look at girls that way.
Right.
Because I have a daughter. It's just something different. You know, I can look at my wife that way. It's a whole different thing. But you know, when you're, as you get older and your children get older, you can't look at, or at least I can't. I don't look
Right,
at.
it's just not a process of your mind anymore.
Right. I'm in my later 40s. So like anybody 30 and below, I'm just like, okay, that's just creepy to look at them in that way. And to put a granddaughter, I mean, to even put a daughter, but to put a granddaughter and put a name with a scantily clothed woman and say, this is what my granddaughter is going to look like someday. This is weird.
Yeah, that's just not going to work, man.
The man needs some help.
Yeah, he
I mean,
does.
honestly.
So how do you say you broach the subject? That was the question.
Well, I do. I think here's the thing. This is where I think you are showing your sensitivity to the world that is unnecessary, right? Like they're afraid, they don't want to broach the subject to maybe be insensitive or hurt anybody's feelings, right? This is where I feel like your discernment is way off, and it's red flag time. Like, hey mom, hey daughter, you're gonna go, and me and grandpa are gonna talk, and that's it. You know, and you could say it just like that, and you could say it's because of this, and I'd make it a big hairy deal because it kind of is. You know, like there's a certain time where you want to try to smooth things, but like when it's crossed the line, it's smooth time's done. It's rough time, you know, and the girls are going to take off.
Well, he crossed the line. It's not like you have.
Way across the line.
You're not being awkward.
You
He
know?
is.
And so here's the thing: are you where are you putting your responsibilities at? Are you cowtailing to your relationship with Grandpa, or are you leading your family? Right? Is it your responsibility to take care of this, especially your daughter, granddaughter? You know, especially your daughter. That's your job. And so your relationship with Grandpa can come and go. You're in charge of the granddaughter, and so it's conversation time. And I don't know what consequences come out of it, but like I can't imagine that she's going over there anymore.
Well, that's pretty black and white, isn't it?
Yeah.
That was just very black and white to you, wasn't it?
Yeah,
So
straight.
what if the granddaughter said, "Oh, he was just joking. He didn't mean anything by it. I love Grandpa."
Then I have not
then
raised.
then his wife or his mother, "Oh, he was just joking. He's just." Oh, come on.
Not
He
gonna
was just
work.
having a bad day.
No, there's-
somebody loves Grandpa. They all love Grandpa. Grandpa's funny. They love to get along with him.
Yeah,
So you got a little tension going with everybody because not everybody thinks like you do or they do.
Yeah,
So
but here's the
you got a
thing,
little
like,
something
it's
going there.
my-
So what do? That's a family deal.
Yeah,
That's-
but it's my
that's
job.
unity.
It's
That's
my job
togetherness.
to lead that family, and I will lead them not here. You know what I'm saying? That's it. Like it has to be black and white. They can be as mad as they want to. They can feel awkward, upset, whatever. But like when push comes to shove, I don't answer to them and their emotional take on the subject right now. Like I answer to the responsibilities that Christ has given me and their welfare 5 years from now, and it includes not being in this situation.
But that's you not being a pleaser. What if you were a pleaser? What if you had a different personality? You were a pleaser, and you want to make everybody in the family
I don't know
happy?
what that feels like, but I bet it stinks.
I think you got to turn your attention to. I got to please my daughter, though. You know, I mean, I've got to protect my daughter, and I don't want to have to face my daughter and say, "Well, sorry about what Grandpa did to you," because I was afraid to, I don't want to hurt his feelings. Sorry about all that stuff you went through. I think you got to. Now, I wouldn't tear the family apart and all that stuff. I would probably I'd have the conversation, but also say someone's always going to be here. We're like, granddaughter's not going to spend the night here. They're not going to spend hours without one of us around just because we're creeped out.
Yeah, sorry, you crossed the line.
We trust
Like,
you. We love you.
That's
what
an
do you?
excellent
What else do you
approach,
expect me to do? I mean, what do you expect me to do as a father? I mean, I can't do anything different.
Yeah.
I feel that's fair.
All right. What was the secular advice?
Secular advice. We don't see this thing.
That was a
Okay.
heavy one.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming. I kind of read the first 2 lines and I thought, well, that's kind of weird.
It
And
was
then-
kind of real for me. I think it was pretty real.
Okay.
It could happen.
It says, secular answers. Grandpa Bert appears to be a dirty old man. I'm not sure you should talk to him about this. It would have more impact if you, your wife, and your mother-in-law do it together. When you do, tell him that putting your daughter's name under the picture was in poor taste, and you all want the picture with your daughter's name shredded. Privately, your wife should ask your daughter if Grandpa Bert has ever done anything uncomfortable, and if to explain your concerns to your daughter, tell her you and your wife love her, and she can always come to you with any concerns of her own.
But you agree with the team approach, Mike?
No.
Mike's out. No team approach.
Team approach.
No.
I don't have a problem with team.
I'm not against it, but like, I don't need
You
to.
tell me Grandma hasn't seen that?
Here's the thing. That picture didn't get put up 3 minutes ago.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like,
Grandma has
Grandma's
seen
probably
it.
seen it, you know? She's
Good
let it
point.
go. She's not
Good
the heavy.
point.
That's what you see. What's not seen? That's
Yeah.
what scares me.
Yeah, here's the thing. I'm okay with the team approach, but what I don't need is a bunch of wishy-washy namby-pambies dragging the point down, which is just not going to happen
And
anymore.
to fight it, it's like, here's what we're going to do, Grandpa. We're going to take your computer to a computer technician, and he's going to show us what's on your hard drive. Are there other things that we don't know about?
Yeah, and that's yeah.
If you want my daughter to hang around here.
It's-
Nambur-pamby, is that?
Yeah, that's
Is that a
right.
real word?
I
That's
didn't know
how
how
I
to
see
spell
it.
that.
That's how I see it going down. Here's the thing: when you're right, you're right, and you
I
got
thought
to
it was
do it.
namby-pamby, but you said it's Nambur-pamby?
No, you're mixing that up with a toy that the McDonald's used to give away in the Happy Meals.
What do you mean?
A Nambur-pamby.
That's right. That's what it's.
I've never had one.
I
of those.
was a collector until I found out they were worthless. Because, I mean, they're giving away at McDonald's. Everybody's got one. You know that ain't right.
Just like those Muppet mugs you used to get.
It's
Like,
not.
these are the coolest ever. Okay, here we go. Dear Life from the Path. I'm a young mom who dropped out of high school because I didn't have enough credits. I started a great job in fast food and have a very understanding boss. I met my boyfriend at work. We lived together since before my son was born, and he has helped me to raise my son. His biological dad left me and has no contact since I was 2 months pregnant. Lately, I've been incredibly depressed. I'm nowhere I wanted to be in life, miserable in my relationship, and have started to hate my job. I'm clinically diagnosed as bipolar and on medication. I've also been seeing a therapist since I was very young. I don't know what to do. I want to throw my life away. I love my son, and I want the best for him. Any advice on how to pick myself up? This is where Dan comes in.
Go
Dan?
ahead. Go ahead, Dan. Hit him with it.
You know what I'm going to say, right?
I do.
I always go to step one. First of all, you need Jesus. Let's get you right with God. Let's get you in a place where there's no past you have to worry about. Everything's forgiven. God's grace is amazing, and it's awesome. And from then, let's start taking one step at a time, and we can rebuild your life. Let's start doing a life that how God would want you to live. Let's start living it His way, and that would mean making some changes. And it's going to be an uphill battle because that bipolar thing, man, that's wicked. I mean, it's a real deal. It's people really struggle with that, and you got to keep watching that closely, you know, and everything. But beside that, start living for God. Move out. You got to get on your own or get married. You know, make your choice if you're going to stick with it or not. Start working on your education. You can work on all that stuff. But she's made a series of poor choices that has got her in a situation that has left her feeling empty. So fill it, first of all, with God. Get that fixed, and then start working slowly toward the other stuff. And she can come out of this. She's young. She's in her 20s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. She'll be fine.
You know,
If she gets on the right path.
I had
the
I had a conversation with a pastor that I know, and I had an issue with a friend of mine who had low self-esteem, and I said, you know, I just can't. I'm not the guy for low self-esteem conversations. I'm not good with them, and so like I need help.
I have a hard time.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Quit acting like this, you know.
You're an idiot. Come on, stop
Seriously,
that.
I've had enough of this whining. But so I asked him, like, honestly, I'm like, I don't know how to help this person. And he answered in a way that I didn't find, I didn't see coming. He goes, self-esteem, he goes, as far as I can see it, it's just a made-up word for a reason to accredit your worth coming from somebody else, right? Your worth is established in the fact that someone thought you were worth enough to die for you. So self-esteem is pretty much you saying that God's a liar. If your judgment is anything but that you were worth dying for, therefore your motivation to continue to do things, it has to start there. If it doesn't start there, then basically you're calling God a liar. Anything less than that is untrue. And so, like, one of the hardest things I find to talk to people about is when they have things like this, to realize that your worth is totally dependent on what somebody's willing to trade for you. You know, we determine everything on how you'll give me this amount of money for this product. If you make something that it's a $3 million investment for a pin that writes in space, that pin ain't worth $2 to me because I don't go to space, right? And so something's only worth what something is willing to give you for it. And Jesus was willing to give his life for you, which means that you're worth exactly that. You're worth someone dying for, and they've done it. Not to mention it was the creator of the universe that had no business coming down to pay that penalty. And so, if you can back up and realize that your worth is determined by the fact that Christ died for you, and you're worth at least that, that's one heck of a place to start.
Yeah.
To figure out where you are and where you can start going, and especially the person that ascribes that value to you is who from all blessings flow.
It's some high authority, right?
I mean, seriously, there's no one else to ask. It's the buck stops here guy that says, look, this is what you're worth. You don't have to go to any more shops. You don't have to check the internet ads. This is it. This is what you're worth. And so if you can get that point through, so someone realizes that's where you start. I mean, it's uplifting to even know, even when I fall, I go back to that, even when you feel pretty crappy about your existence, you can always go back to the fact that Christ loved you enough to die for you. That's a place to start. So maybe you just better ask him where you want to be.
And I think that authority thing is a good thought too, because like where your praise comes from, or whoever is talking to you or whatever situation is making you feel like either you're great or you stink, right? Look at the authority that you're placing that person to have that type of control over your life, to say, hey, you are in a position to make me feel good, or to say that I'm good and I'm relying on you. And you're talking about fallible people that make fallible decisions, and ultimately are prone to doing things that don't always build themselves up or build others up. And so who am I trusting to be the arbiter of where my worth should come from? Am I going to put it in Mike Foost, who's frankly willing to give me the smackdown in a family business as opposed to keeping the family together?
That's true. Yeah. I'm not the right guy.
This is the guy I'm going to rely on to judge my value from. Or
hey, Mike, what do you think of me as a person? Well, I've been waiting for this day.
Where's my binder?
Where's my pad of paper? I had to buy 3
If you
pins.
go back to the story, though, I mean, if you go back to the advice we're trying to give this young woman, you're asking her to change.
Yeah.
You're asking her to change. And when you have a relationship with Christ, you really don't have the ability to change. You garner the ability to exchange your life for Christ, and then he can move in, and then therefore he starts doing all those things for you. But you really don't have the opportunity or even the willpower to change. I've never been able to change anything about myself. I've always had to lay down and let God exchange his life for mine. And then when I go to do the things I want to do, I go, no, I'm on this exchange diet. So I'm not going to do it my way anymore. I'm going to try to do it his way. So the change would be rough for someone in that position.
It's a slow process. It really is.
It would be rough. So she would have to develop, maybe start as an intellectual thing with Christ, but it would sooner or later have to turn to that supernatural intervention that God can have with people, or she'll be just beating her head against the wall.
No, that's true. Because then you're kind of just describing, you're back to the self-esteem thing, right? Like, now you know what God wants of you, and you're like, I keep failing. I'm so bad at this deal. Like, seriously, I can't do any better, Jesus.
I'm even a loser at this.
Let's see. Here we go. The advice from Secular was, do you have any advice on how to pick myself up? She says, yeah. Tell your therapist that you are cycling into a depression. Your medications may need to be adjusted. Next, explore getting your high school education by getting a GED degree. One which may widen your employment opportunities. Once you're feeling better, all this, of course, is going to work seamlessly, you should consider whether you want to end the romantic relationship you have with your boyfriend. When your emotions are on even keel, you'll be better able to make that decision. P.S. If you are not receiving child support, contact the Department of Social Services in your state because your child's father should have been contributing regularly. I feel like she totally missed the point on that whole thing. Like, I get what she's trying to say, but
she's fixing symptoms.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but not the emptiness that has led to all this in the first place.
Yeah, I agree. One more here. Ready? Dear Life from the Path. When filling salt and pepper shakers that aren't marked, does the salt go into the one with the fewer holes on the top?
No, it's pepper.
Pepper's always less holes.
Yeah.
Why is that now?
Less holes and bigger.
Because it's too strong then?
It's a stronger spice.
I don't know how much you know about spices, Mike. But
well, Jesus says we are the
pepper's
salt of
widely
the
known
world.
as being a bit more peppery. Anybody else want to weigh on this thing, or that's it? It's pepper.
No, I'm voting pepper.
Pepper goes in the tiny hole. Have you ever
pepper.
made your own salt and pepper shakers out of something?
No.
Like
like what?
MacGyvered them together or something?
Why would I?
Like with
why
an
would
old,
I do that?
An old
Shoebox
boot
and a duct tape.
I've never been in
And
a
a drill.
pinch for a salt and pepper shaker. Like sometimes I have to use the giant, the lady with the umbrella on it with the salt in it.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes they have to pour it into my hand and then sprinkle it out or whatever. But I don't think I've ever said, I can't use the big one.
Isn't that
Let
how
me
the real chefs do it? They take a pinch and kind of.
I think they keep it in a bowl,
I've seen it on TV.
and then they just do it by feel.
There's nothing wrong with salt.
I don't know why that. What do you mean? We didn't. No one said that.
There's nothing wrong with salt. That's why there's more holes in the salt, because there's nothing wrong with salt. Salt's good for you.
It's a.
It's a preservative.
They
Amen.
said it causes the heart disease.
I don't. That's not right.
Gingivitis.
That's not right. That's,
No,
that's false.
That's
That's
not
false.
true at all.
He's pretty sensitive about the salt, man.
Yeah.
Better let it go.
I didn't know this was going to take a turn like this.
Rick Lee's self-worth is based upon his salt intake.
I like my salt.
How's the
Salt's
week
of the
going?
devil.
Well, I had 8 cups of salt. I say it's pretty good.
so sodium.
Whoa. Secular says there is no set rule.
Of course not.
Although traditionally the salt shaker is the one with more holes, because doctors now advise Americans to cut back on salt intake, it might make more sense to put it in the shaker with fewer holes.
That's not true.
Unless you want to be
Wait.
happy.
I heard it on the radio. It has to be true. Salt is not bad for you anymore.
Yeah, I heard the same thing about eggs from the Egg Council. They put out a couple ads. I'm sure the Salt Council was out.
Salt and eggs are great.
With some bacon.
It's too bad they stopped advertising heroin on the radio. That's good stuff.
I want the real Coca-Cola.
No, really, man. No, it's good. It's good. You know it's good. Say it on the radio. I don't know why he's talking like that. That's
I do. Yeah.
I've never been a junkie. That's my best one.
He's been on the salt.
That's your junkie voice?
Yeah. He
No, like
clicks
Ernest
too.
T.
He thinks they click.
I use the same voice for Paul. Yeah. And John the Baptizer.
Stay on the ship. Stay on the ship.
repent. I told my daughter I was going to go as John the Baptizer for Halloween next year, and I decided I was going to tape the locust to my face like I'm so messy with them. And then my wife got disgusted and said it wasn't going to happen. And I thought, you're a dream killer. All I want to do is dress up like John the Baptizer. Why is this got to be such a deal?
Forget this. I'm gonna live in the woods.
I was going to get real grasshoppers and what do you call fry them, or what do you do to make them mortis? What do you got to do? You soak them in formaldehyde or something.
Yeah.
But I don't want them moving around on my face. That's gross,
Give him a little salt and heroin. I'll straighten him right out.
What's wrong with them locusts? They've been listening to the radio. I don't know.
I told him one was gonna fly. But you got them big legs. You ain't do anything.
You've been listening to Live from the Path on livefromthepath.org. You can also be catching the broadcast on KTIA 99.3. Here's the deal. I don't know what you've been doing with your time, but this is the best way to spend it, Ben.
It's the best way to spend it. And here's what you can do. Now, at 10 o'clock's a little bit late at night on a Monday.
It's late,
I
agreed.
I hear Jay Leno's on. I understand what's going on. So here's what you can do. You can sign up for that audio podcast. If you go to livefromthepath.org, you click that link that says RSS feed. You can sign up for that audio podcast. Get it downloaded to your personal listening device and enjoy it just whenever you can.
Hey, Ben, should I download the video cast?
I think that's a terrible mistake.
Yeah, I
First of all,
agree.
it takes up a lot of room. We're not really worth looking at. Here's the deal. We got a couple of YouTube channels, okay? If you go to youtube.com/Live from the Path, that's the cream of the crop, right? We're posting clips from the music artists that have been in, the clips from the game shows and everything. You can enjoy that in little bits and pieces. If you go to youtube.com/ThePathOnline, that's a full episode. And generally, that's a mistake.
Yeah.
You got better stuff to do with your time. If you want to watch the full thing, it's out there. But I mean, that's a lot of Live from the Path to take in. So, but I do the audio podcast. That's a fair deal. And check out the Clips channel. And you can get all that stuff on the website, livefromthepath.org. You can click through some of our performances, some of the games, and watch full episodes. Hey, you know what's posted? Posted as of Tuesday was the broadcast from the Classic Petra concert.
Oh, really?
Okay, so there's 3 hours of rock going from the Petra concert. On This Rock opened the show.
Yep.
And they played through. Those guys are good friends of the show. There's some clips of them out on the YouTube channel. And then Classic Petra rocked for a couple hours, and we got the full feed there, so you can check it out. And interesting tidbit. So we got there to do the broadcast, and we had set up everything, and the Petra guys were up there, and they were sound checking on the stage, and the soundboard that was there only had 4 aux mixes, and they wanted 5 monitor mixes. And so they came up and said, "Hey fellas, Live from the Path, can we use your soundboard?" And we donated it, so we handed it over. So Petra used our soundboard, and we used like some kind of small deal that they also had with them.
Yeah, like a hamster in a wheel cage is what this thing looked like.
It did the job,
All right, just saying.
but our board has done something classic.
Praise God through all blessings.
Exactly. Through all blessings flow.
That's
Through a
right.
ragtag fake internet radio show. Petra rocked the church.
I'm gonna tell you one thing to know about this. So the people that they organize these concerts, right? And they have, like, for all the volunteers and stuff, they have like food and like backstage food, you know. Well, we didn't know anything about this, you know, so we ordered Jim John's.
Yeah.
and Jim John's come rolling up, right? And some lady come out, she's like, "Who ordered Jimmy John's?" And I'm like,
That guy over there.
right here, man. You know, and she didn't realize I was the guy, you know, so that was awkward for her. But I can way out awkward somebody, you know. So I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna be great. I ordered it, you know. And she kept it up, hands on the hips.
Chicken wings and
Why
everything.
did you order the Jim John's? And I thought, because I'm hungry and I didn't know there was free food here, you know. And so here's the deal: ask around first before you bring food into the Classic Petra concert.
Yeah.
Were you at the Classic Petra?
I was
concert?
not.
Oh, you missed it.
It was good.
Generally speaking, though, it's never a mistake to walk into any venue and say, "Hey, man, is there free food here?" I just checking.
Yeah, I think that's
That's
the
a
new,
fair question wherever
it's
you
the
go.
new way to live.
You gonna get your oil change?
There's
Hey,
always
man,
free food at
you
the
got any free
concert.
food
I don't
here?
know what you're thinking.
Oh, I mean, what do we even purvey to it? You know, we didn't do anything. We set up our own stuff, but it's not like we helped anybody do nothing. We didn't earn the food.
There's always food at a Christian event. Well, come on.
That's the way Christians live. Acts 7.
Got to be chicken here somewhere.
All right, you're listening live from the path, Mike. You got 2 minutes. Pope style advice.
Good, because I didn't come up with one that was too grandiose. Basically, I was driving home yesterday, and I had some awesome experiences with God, and saw God moving in a lot of places. And I kept trying to decide. There's some days that I take God off His throne, and those days I'm a fool. And for some reason that phrase impacted me for the rest of my week. Is I kept thinking, you know, the days that aren't carbon copies of this day, where I see God doing some things, and I actually see what He's doing and become a part of it. Are the days that I've taken God off of His throne and I've taken it over, and I couldn't be any more of a fool than I am on that day, because I've not only deceived myself, but I've missed out on whatever cool thing He's doing because I thought I was going to rock it that day. So just realize that if your week's gone by and you've not seen God working, then you've kicked Him off the throne and you're trying to run the show. And on those days, you're a fool. You're wasting all the great blessings that God has for you. So stop doing that.
I was a fool twice last week.
I know. I've been a fool a long time. I'm used to it by now, but it's cool when Jesus pulled me out of it. Says, "Hey, check this out."
Okay, so general Pope style advice to the 10,000 fans standing outside your balcony. You say, give it up. Like whatever you're doing, you're just gonna need to give it up.
Yeah, stop. Yeah,
Do
stop.
what the Lord's doing. Things are gonna turn out way
Stop
better.
taking the wheel from Jesus. And second of all, pick up your litter on your way out of here. You know what I'm saying? I can't pick up 10,000 people's worth of litter.
No, I agree. That's solid.
Just advice for people who have 10,000 people at their place.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, sweet. Well, hey, here's the deal. You've been listening to Live from the Path. I want to thank you so much for hanging out with us here at Monday nights. We are broadcasting live from livefromthepath.org, or you can catch us on Saturday nights on 99.3 KTIA. And so thanks for hanging out with us. Make sure you check out that website. You can sign up for the audio cast and check out other clips from the show. If you can make the live show on Monday night, there's a live chat feature with it, so you can interact with us and we can interact with you, and it'd be great to be part of it. Thank you so much for listening, and have a wonderful week. You've been listening to Live from the Path.
It's funny how I found I really need you. I need you more and more every day. And I said